Good morning, peace and blessings. Happy Saturday. Today is Saturday, and Saturday is the day that is governed by Saturn, and Saturn is currently at the 6th degree of Aquarius. Um, and Saturn goes direct tomorrow. Saturn has been retrograde for a gang of months. I think Saturn retrograde started on May 23rd. So now Saturn is going direct. Jupiter is going to go direct on the 18th. Mercury goes direct on the 18th. Pluto went direct on the 6th. So really all of these planets starting to go direct are, it's like we've been doing deep internal work. And when the planets are retrograde, it's much more of it's like the energy is just turned internal. And then when the planets go direct, the energy goes back out and expresses externally. And so it really is important to pay attention to where you've been focusing your energy and your time and your efforts for the last 6 months or so. Like, what have you been putting your power towards? And the way that I best understand it for me is it's like, what's my internal dialogue? If like, what am I talking to myself about? What am I most focusing my mental energy on? That's how you know what you're creating. And if you're in the world and you are like, I'm noticing there is a lot of conversations around mandates now, and a lot of fear and a lot of fighting. So the energy of that, whatever that energy is what you're cultivating, right? And so you want to be mindful of how you are being in your internal world. So for me, when I see myself at odds with something, I don't want to keep my energy focused in sort of a divisiveness. So then I will ask myself, why is this up for me? What's present here for me? What do I need to learn? What can I get from this experience? And like I said, today is a Saturn day, and Saturn is at the 6th degree of Aquarius. So Aquarius is the blueprint of your consciousness. It's who you are at your deepest level. It's the part of you that is unique, that nobody else has it, right? That's what Aquarius is. It is the absolute unique aspects of you. And one of the things about this sort of Aquarius energy is that you cannot find it outside of you. You cannot mimic anyone else. It's not something that you're going to pattern from someone else. It is your God code. It is who God created you to be. No one else can do it. No one else can be it. No one's had your life. No one's had your experiences. It's really important that we sort of find the opportunity to cultivate our uniqueness. And that's what this Saturn in retrograde has been about. I offered a class that started in May, and for the rituals to help people really tap into who you are. It's so significant, right? Because just like the sun is not the moon. You know, ants are not elephants. Like, there is a unique energy that we are all here to express. And if we are too committed to conformity, or if we are too much in our trauma, if we are, in the rat race, your uniqueness, your individuality will get lost, because it'll be washed away with all of the sameness, right? And you need it. Like I said, you cannot thrive. You cannot really be happy. You cannot be successful without your unique, individual, energetic imprint. It is required for you to really have happiness on earth. And then the moon today is at the final degree of Scorpio right now. The moon stays 2.5 days in every sign, and the moon is going to conjunct Venus today in Sagittarius. So this is a time of restoring our faith, of really, getting clear about the vision and what you're here and what you're up to. Like I said, this unique thing, right? It really is. It's time for us to let go of the age of Pisces, where we're just all doing the same shit and following the same rules and listening to the same ideas. And the thing that I find that is really very important is that we face our fears, because I know I watch myself get afraid when I have an idea that nobody else has or that nobody agrees with. And, I have to take into, like the other day I was talking about how I voted for Trump the first time, not the second time. And the reason that I did it is because I could feel the energy. Now, the thing that I'm so aware of, because people get so pissed off about it, right? But most people didn't grow up the way I grew up. They didn't grow up in Watts during the crack epidemic. They didn't grow up being a little black girl who was then taken to a white community to get education because they needed black excellence in these white schools. That's why they busted us. I was taken to a school because I was smart. And I was taken out of my community, which traumatized me because they put me around a ton of, middle class white people who didn't really care about our well-being, except there were exceptions. There were some teachers who were really powerful, right? So it's important for us to understand our uniqueness. And so because I grew up the way I grew up, I have a perspective that most black people don't have, which is why when I listen to all of these, people, and I don't anymore, but when I listen to the talking heads on these political shows, the black ones especially, I'm like, people don't really understand poverty. And most people are just really interested in their own comfort. They really aren't trying to help the people who are less for. Most people are not. The politicians are not. It's just not what's going on. This country literally builds its economy on people being impoverished. People, racism. This country benefits from that. So I don't expect people to understand why I do what I do, because you didn't grow up how I grew up. So middle class black people who didn't grow up with a lot of the stuff that black people who in poverty grew up with, they're not the same kind of black people. I mean, it's just not the same. I don't even know what to say, right? Like, I grew up in the stuff that rap songs were made about. I grew up in those environments that were really, dealing with a lot of racism and addiction and the prison system. I grew up with that stuff. So I understand that in a way that some black people might just be able to talk about it, but I actually lived it, right? So my vote for Trump was really about me facing my fears, it was like my Goliath in some way, like David and Goliath. It was like I had to face the trauma and the terror of those sort of white racist mindsets. I had to look at it with my spiritual power and realize that it wasn't stronger than me. So when people get upset, I understand, because it's not your reality. Like, you didn't have to face that. And most people are not empathic enough or care about most people really don't care about the well-being of other people. They don't. People won't say it, but they don't. And how we know they don't care is because look at our country. You know what I mean? Like, Los Angeles has a homeless population that's popping out of the seams right now. And there are billions of dollars in place for the homeless population. But do you understand that the people in most communities don't want to even create housing in their communities for people who are experiencing homelessness? Because people don't give a fuck about other people. It's just what's true, right? So people are really interested in their own comfort and their own well-being, and that doesn't have anything to do with anybody else. And I'm grateful that I grew up the way that I grew up, because I actually do give a fuck about people. Because I've seen what goes on, and I've seen that the system is a system that creates entrapment. And it's a system that creates entrapment. And so you cannot get out of this system unless you have a divine plan. There's no other way to do it. You need help from your ancestors. You need help from the divine, you need help from the invisible field. You need help from God. You can't get out of this motherfucker on your own. Literally, the more you try to get out, the more you're trapped. It's just how it is. And so I understand that people don't get my path, and I'm fine with that. Absolutely. So today, the Saturn in Aquarius is asking us to really get clear about our own personal energy, our own personal energy frequency, and that frequency that is unique. No one else has it. And how can you cultivate it? How can you really stand in your energy field and stand there lovingly, proudly, and really understand the value of your uniqueness? And don't shrink back, because there's no reason to. And then the other thing is Mercury is retrograde. Mercury is at the halfway point today. And so Mercury is in a conjunction with the sun, and the sun is our consciousness. And so we should be getting many new ideas. Really, this is a time where, like I was saying, where our faith is starting to pay off. And faith is, whatever you've been putting your attention in that is unseen, so have you been worried or full of doubt and worry? That's where you've been putting your faith. So that will then become the thing that you are now living into. Have you been in your joy? Have you been focused on healing and transformation? Have you been focused on freedom? If you have, then that will be the thing that is your realization. Like I said today, the moon is going to conjunct Venus, and the moon conjunct Venus is really asking us to, it's really the fulfillment of our faith. It is. It's just the fulfillment of our faith. And it's we're living it through an exciting time. As scary as it is, it's also very exciting. And if you're doing your work, if you are sincere of heart, right? So when I talk about, having a pure heart, that's really between you and God. Nobody can tell you what the fuck your pure heart is. It's not something that's negotiable. It's between you and your creator. Like really being truthful about your fears, being truthful about your shortcomings, looking at your shadow, really giving yourself permission to see yourself so purely without judgment. That's what it means to have a pure heart. It doesn't mean that you don't have things that you're working on, or that that you're not in your human experience. That's not what a pure heart is. A pure heart is loving yourself really just as you are, and loving the process of healing, loving the process of transformation, loving the process of becoming more than what you are right now. That's what it is to have a pure heart. And that includes your sexuality. One of the things that I'm really aware of is so many of us carry so much shame and guilt for things that we judge ourselves for. I've seen, the beautiful thing about my life is that I've seen so much humanity, right? I've seen, I had an uncle who was a molester in our family, and it was a horrible thing. The things that I saw him do and perpetrate in our family was really horrific. But when I started understanding why he was doing it and what was going on in his psyche, I stopped judging him. I was just like, oh yeah, this is the pattern in my family, and I didn't like it. Of course, I didn't like it, but I didn't judge it, and I understood what was going on with him. And so that's the gift of my life, is that I have seen people in their most traumatic shadow experiences, and God has given me the ability to be able to love people wherever they are. And I'm so fucking grateful for that. It is such a gift, because I just have an understanding of humanity in a way that I don't find that most of us have. And I feel very blessed for it, which is why I can coach people and help people heal and help people get free, because I don't have judgments of the things that people experience, because I understand that there's so much connected to it, especially for Black people, because of the trauma that we carry from being in this country and how monstrous it has been. It has been for us. I was having a conversation with a Facebook conversation the other day with somebody, and just sort of really aware of how ignorant most white people are. They just are ignorant. They just, either they're ignorant or they pretend to not know. I'm not completely clear. I'm not. Maybe some of both. And understanding the system and how it works, I even can have compassion for that, because I get it. It still makes me angry. It pisses me the fuck off, because their ignorance is so harmful to everyone else. And that's just profound to me, but it's a part of our human experience. So anyway, with that, use the energy today to identify the things that make you who you are. Identify the uniqueness of who you are, because Saturn is our karma. Saturn is our cause and effect. And as Saturn is going direct tomorrow, glory to God. Thank you, Saturn. This is a statue of Sekhmet. Sekhmet is the Kemetic Saturn, and literally through focus and intention, we create power that allows us to manifest what is in our mind into the 3D reality. But we cannot be filled with trauma or fear in this. We cannot be filled with trauma or fear when we are using the power of Saturn to bring things out of the invisible and into our 3D reality. And so I bought this woman, I bought Sekhmet from Egypt. This is what I went to Egypt to find, my own Sekhmet power. I went to Egypt, and I really believe that for those of us who can feel the energy and the power moving through us, and have not been able to clearly understand how to use our power, I say take a journey to Egypt, because Egypt is where the energy of our power is seated. Honestly, it really is. They're not going to tell you these stories, because when I tell you, there is a great effort to keep us asleep and ignorant. And the reason why is because we're so powerful. We're so powerful that if we just wake up, we will knock this motherfucker down. And let me tell you, and I literally am going to be teaching some new classes, but we will unravel this motherfucker if we wake up, especially the feminine, especially the women. But we got to get outside of the Christian mindset. We got to realize that the power is not out there in Jesus, but it's inside of us. And one of the things that I was thinking about this morning in my meditation, there was that Bible verse where Jesus said, "Who has touched the hem of my garment?" They took the essence. Like, I felt my essence go away. And that's the only time, because the feminine is the most powerful energy on the planet. The feminine is the most, we bleed without dying. Do you understand how fucking powerful we are? We bleed for a week and we don't die. That is the essence of life. And because we misunderstand it and misuse it, honestly, we are the reason that things are out of alignment, because we're not using our power correctly. So with that, I'm not going to say no more today. I love y'all. Peace and blessings. Have a really beautiful day. And I'm still doing Mercury retrograde readings. So if you want me to look at your chart to see how Mercury retrograde, how you can really use this energy to tell yourself a new story, to begin to create the rituals to transform your thinking, transform your mind, you can just go to my link tree and my link tree there, and you can book a session. All right, you all. Peace and blessings. Have a beautiful day. Bye, everyone.